Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining our fourth live webinar. My name is Lucas Demarchi. I'm with Full Gauge Controls, live from Miami, Florida. This webinar is brought to you by Full Gauge Controls and Robert Shaw. Robert Shaw is the official full gauge distributor for the US market. Today, we're going to be talking about how to implement remote monitoring free of charge. This, as I mentioned before, this is the fourth webinar from a series of live events we brought to you during this COVID-19 crisis. So the first webinar, we talked about installation and configuration of a medium temp digital controller. Then on the second live webinar, we talked about installation and configuration of a low temp freezer controller. On the third webinar, we talked about defrost methods and how to enhance and improve your defrost cycle. And today we're going to be talking about remote monitoring and how to implement remote monitoring in HVAC-R systems free of charge. So for those of you who missed the first three webinars and would like to recap, you can go online on our Facebook and our YouTube channel, and those webinars are there, so you can watch on demand. I would also like to invite you, if you like the content we are bringing to you, leave a like on the page and subscribe for our channel. And I would also like to invite you to download our FEG Finder app. The FEG Finder app includes all the product manuals, where to buy, electronic expansion valve selection, and other support materials. So the FEG Finder app is free to download at your app store. So for those of you who currently do not have the FEG Finder app, I highly recommend you to download to stay up to date with all the latest full gauge launches and releases. So as I mentioned before, today we're going to be talking about how to implement remote monitoring free of charge. Safe temperature limit, it's one of the most critical aspects to prevent catastrophic events such as food, medicine, or vaccine from being spoiled. Every year, thousands of people die because of food contamination. In addition to that, billions of dollars are lost due to poor temperature control, which leads to food spoil, equipment breakdown, and associated lawsuits. So constant temperature monitoring and real-time alerts are some of the essential elements to improve food safety and shelf life and equipment runtime. So, but unfortunately, mostly small and medium-sized business cannot afford to have a built-in automation system or complicated monitoring system that cost them a small fortune. So here comes the question: how to implement a remote monitoring solution that can better safeguard my food and my valuable assets without compromising my business? So what's the is there any affordable solution that can provide temperature monitoring and control? The answer is yes. The solution that is available and allows you to implement temperature monitoring free of charge is called CTRAD software. And we're going to be looking at what are the features, benefits, and how to make use of such innovative technology. So for those of you who have questions, please do not hesitate to ask. We have the comment features in here. Our mediator will be answering all your questions in real time, and I'll do my best to bring some of those questions live to the screen so we can debate and we can talk about your question and comments. So please send out all your questions. and let us know what you think. So CTROD software. What's the CTROD software? CTROD software, it's a free-to-download solution that provides remote monitoring and control of temperature, humidity, pressure, and more. That's the most affordable solution for temperature monitoring and control. So just some information about the CTROD software. CTROD was developed by the Full Gauge team back in 1997. So Full Gauge has its own team for software development and updates. That means we don't outsource the software development. Everything is done in-house. And this CTROD software has been in the market for over 20 years, since 1997. And we've been constantly developing new features and update all the features and capabilities that is available to you. In addition to that, the CTROD software has been certified by Microsoft. It is in line with the Microsoft requirements for Windows 10. Why do we have the software? So basically, the software is here to provide you peace of mind. By installing the software, you know if anything goes wrong, you have predictive alerts, which will provide you the capability of taking corrective measures before the problem actually happens. In addition to that, those remote alerts, those real-time alerts, can alert you of a potential problem that your system will face eventually, which will raise the possibilities of predictive actions, reducing equipment downtime. And by installing the software, you're also complying with the requirements from government agencies such as Anvisa in Latin America and the FDA here in North America. So CTROD complies and provides you the option of electronic data record according to FDA CFR 21 section. So for those of you who are interested to obtain the ISO 22000, or you're interested to stay in line with the FDA requirements, CTROD becomes a very useful tool for data management, for electronic data management. So where can you use CTROD? CTROD has been developed for a variety of applications. There are a number of applications that you can use CTROD, including but not limiting to supermarket refrigeration case, from medium temperature display case to freezers, to walk-in boxes, walk-in coolers and freezers that are equipped with your MT512E log controller, or for those walk-in boxes that are equipped with your TC900E log controller, or those applications that those pharmaceutical applications that are equipped with your MT530E super controller. All those applications can be equipped, can be upgraded to CTROD for remote monitoring via CTROD software. So CTROD software can be used in a number of food service, retail, and medical applications, including compressor racks that are equipped with your PCT410E Plus controller or the PCT3001 Plus. So CTROD is actually compatible with all log plus super controllers from Full Gauge controls. So what are the features of CTROD? And for those that have questions, please do not hesitate to answer. I'm actually unable to see all your questions while I'm presenting, so I'll be trying to go back and forth to bring some of those questions live to the screen. So please do not hesitate to send all your questions out. So let's go back in here. So what are the features of CTROD software? What do you get when you download CTROD software? And in fact, you can go online now and download CTROD software for free at ctrod.com. So I'm inviting you all to go to www.ctrod.com and download for free your remote monitoring and management solution. And what does it include? So with the CTROD, you can actually live monitor your temperature, humidity, pressure, voltage, and any other data that has been connected to the software. So Full Gauge provides you a full line of digital controllers for temperature, humidity, that can be used in refrigeration, air conditioning, heating, even solar heating applications. And all those controller data will be lively displayed on CTROD software. In addition to that, you're not only monitoring, but you can actually interact with those controllers. So you can go online and change the controller settings. You can change defrost settings. You can pretty much do everything you would do physically on the controller, you can do remotely from your computer or cell phone app. So CTROD software provides you not only monitoring, but management capabilities. You can go online and change the system settings. In addition to that, you get real-time and instant alerts if anything goes wrong. So CTROD will be sending out email messages if there is a high or low temperature, humidity, pressure, or any other potential failure. So by having those predictive alerts, you have time to take actions that will prevent a massive breakdown. So CTROD includes real-time email alerts. In addition to that, you also have log of events, including, so all the temperature, humidity, again, pressure, whatever you have connected to CTROD, CTROD will automatically log that data. So you have years of data storage. How long does CTROD log that data? That's a question you might want to ask. As long as your computer can host that data. So CTROD does not provide any limitation. And in fact, the size of data that it collects is such small that it can log years and years of data in a normal operating computer. That's the beauty and the simplicity of CTROD software. It does not require any dedicated hardware. All your existing computers and laptop can be used to host the software. But we'll get there and we will see how that works. Including some of the features included also free to download cell phone and tablet apps. So we have free to download apps that can run in any Android and iOS mobile device. Schedule of events is also a salient feature of CTROD software. Through the event schedule, you can schedule defrost cycles. You can schedule economy set point activation. You can schedule fast freezing set point activation. You can schedule automatic report generation and more. So schedule is included and a salient feature of CTROD software. And lastly, but not least, you also have the capability of seeing whoever made a change, what was that change, and when the change was made. So that CTROD keeps track of every step of the entire system. So with that capability and all those capabilities, again, they are offered to you free of charge. There is no cost about downloading CTROD software. There is no monthly fee charge, no recurring fee, nothing. All free to download software, app, and free support. So what are the benefits of using CTROD? those benefits are also selling opportunities for you. So if you're a refrigeration contractor, if you are HVAC contractor, and you want to increase your average ticket price, this is the ideal solution. This provides you so many options, business options, to diversify your current income, your revenue streams. So along this presentation, we're going to be talking about a few tactics and a few strategies that will allow you to increment your revenue stream by implementing and selling the C-Trod software to your customers. But when you're selling the C-Trod software, you have to be aware of the benefits of remote monitoring and management. And here they are for you. So temperature reports for authorities quickly and easily. Most business have to comply with health inspections, with health guidelines and standards, and especially food service business have a very strict temperature requirement. So by adopting the C-Trod software, you have automatic data logging and automatic report generation that can be easily printed out and handled over to authorities. So instead of having someone to write down your temperatures every 3, 6, or 8 hours to comply with the city inspection, you can now just download a report from the store data and provide that to the city inspector. So that it is actually allowing you to increase efficiency, because you're going to be focusing your key personnel, your service personnel, on their key activities. Instead of being write down temperatures every 3, 6 hours, they can now take care of their normal duties and let the temperature record for C-Trod software. Besides that, the C-Trod software will save you unnecessary calls to the job site. I'm sure that many of you have experienced calls that customer calls you and say, hey, my temperature, my cooler is not working. My refrigerated space temperature is too warm. Something is wrong. And then you have to travel all the way to the site to get there and find out that the coil was blocked with ice because somebody left the door open. Well, if you had C-Trod installed in that site, you could easily prevent that unnecessarily travel to the site, because first of all, C-Trod would send you an open door alarm. In addition to that, you could take the temperature report, a chart report, and you would easily identify that your coil was blocked with ice. Furthermore, you could force a defrost right from your C-Trod software. Yes, you can also force a defrost command from your mobile phone or computer. And that would definitely prevent that service call, that unnecessary service call. In addition to that, C-Trod, by having a strict and constant temperature monitoring and control, you're also monitoring your compressor cycles, your defrost cycles, which can lead to up to 20% energy savings. Yes, by constantly monitoring your system variables, you can adjust potential inefficiencies and raise energy savings up to 20% just by switching from conventional temperature controls over to remote monitoring and management. And increase shelf life and reduce equipment downtime. Because of all the predictive alerts, you know that your temperatures are kept within the desired limits and are safe to be sold, are secure for consumers. And by having predictive alerts, you know when there is a chance for a breakdown, and you can take predictive maintenance. So those are some of the benefits for C-Trod software. Advantages. What are the advantages of C-Trod when compared to other remote monitoring softwares? First of all, as far as I know, this is the only free to download software you will find. So the ability of implementing remote monitoring and control without incremental cost is unique to full gauge control. So that's the main and certainly one of the main advantages we have. In addition to that, C-Trod provides you the installation. It's quite versatile and provides you different options. So you can have a computer on site that will be hosting the C-Trod software. Any existing computer can be used on site to download and host that software. Or if you don't have computer on site, you can use a TCP/IP type of device, which will allow you to host C-Trod software in an off-site computer, including a cloud server, if that's your wish. So again, you can save up to 20% electricity without major investment, since the software is offered free of charge. And the controllers that are compatible with C-Trod software, they are in line with the other controller, with conventional controllers market price. So you can optimize your system performance, increasing efficiency without major investment. So how it works? First of all, C-Trod is a proprietary solution from full gauge controls, so that it only works with full gauge controllers. Now, which full gauge controllers does C-Trod work with? C-Trod works with any of the plus line, the plus log, or super controller. So any of those controllers can be used to download, to connect with C-Trod. So how the connection works? Those controllers that feature remote monitoring, remote C-Trod communication, they have a RS-485 communication port. That's what we have on terminal 5 and 6 of the wiring diagram on your right-hand side. So that A and B connection, that's the RS-485 communication port. That's the controller communication port, the controller language. So by means of two simple wires, you're gonna bring two wires from the A and B port of one controller, and you can daisy chain up to 32 controls, which will run through a converter, for example, conv32, and that will be connected to any existing computer, which will have C-Trod downloaded to it. So again, we're gonna have this A and B port from one controller. Let me try to activate my cursor in here. And yeah, here we go. So we're gonna have those A and B ports on the controllers. A and B wire going out from one controller to another controller. This is a junction block. This is included in some controllers such as MT512E log and TC900E log, and is also sold separately to be used with any controllers, including your MT530E Super for temperature and humidity, or your PCT410E Plus for pressure, for multi-stage pressure control, and other controllers. So this junction block is also sold as an accessory. So if you need to buy extra junction block, you can buy, and the part number is BC-01. Again, part number for the junction block is BC-01. So again, what we have in here, we have a controller A and B going from controller to the junction block, then to another junction block, which is derivating the A and B connection to my second controller, and the same with the third controller. However, I could have up to 32 controls connected to the conv32. That's what the 32 on the conv means. I can have, again, up to 32 controllers connected to one single converter interface. So I have my A and B connection, my RS-485 daisy chain set up in here, going into the conf32, and the conf32 is providing USB port to the computer. So by connecting with the USB, so USB port comes out of the conf32 and allows you to connect with the computer. Once that is connected, CTROD is downloaded. Now, first thing you gotta do is to change the serial address of each controller. So in order for CTROD to find each controller within the RS-485 network, you're gonna have to assign a unique serial address to each controller. So that way, CTROD can automatically find out every controller which has been connected to the RS-485 network. And you change the serial address. Serial address are always the last parameter of your CTROD compatible controllers. Always the last parameter of your CTROD compatible controllers are the serial address within the 485 network. So once we assign unique address, for example, address 1, address 2, address 3, and so that on, now my CTROD software can easily recognize every controller which has been connected to my CTROD inbox, to my CTROD network. Some of you might be asking, what is this little device in here? That's just like a transient suppressor. It's what we call it's a 100 ohms resistor that is used to increase the resistance on the RS-485 network and reduce chains of electromagnetic interference. So this is just to reduce interference. It is not mandatory to be installed. However, it is recommended to improve the resistance on your RS-485 network. Any questions? Okay, let's move ahead. Let's go to the next one. Now, this is the most simple setup of CTROD software, the one with the conf32. This is also the hardwired connection, because here I will have wires going from the controller to my converter interface, and a wire, USB wire, going from the interface to the computer. So this is the hardwired option. But let's say you don't want to have hardwire running all over the place, or you cannot run hardwire all over the place. We provide you an option which is called TCP 485 Wi-Fi log. What's the TCP 485 Wi-Fi log? That's basically a TCP IP type of converter. Well, what that means that my converter has its own IP address. So by having an internal IP address on the interface, I can now host the CTROD software either on-site or off-site. If I'm hosting off-site, the TCP becomes another device within my network. So let's say we want to host the CTROD on-site. How that works? I can connect individual controllers to each TCP, or I can also connect up to 32 controllers to one TCP 485 Wi-Fi. Yes, up to 32 controllers to one TCP 485 Wi-Fi. Same wiring structure, the same daisy chain connection. You can daisy chain up to 32 controllers and bring your A and B connection through the TCP 485, which will now deliver you a Wi-Fi communication. Instead of that cabled USB communication, you now have Wi-Fi communication. So basically, your controllers will be connected to the TCP/485 Wi-Fi, and the TCP will be talking to your wireless router. And the wireless router sending this signal and commands to your computer that will be hosting DC TRAD software. So this is the Wi-Fi option. Now, just revisiting the converter options we have. So again, it's a very simple, very user-friendly setup. What do you need? Your full gauge compatible controllers, the ones that have the A and B connection, RS-485, and one of those converters. And the software is free to download. With these three pieces of equipment, controller, converter, and software, you have remote monitoring and control. So again, Conf32 will provide you a hardwired option, hardwired up to 32 controls. TCP/485 Wi-Fi log provides you a wireless option between controllers, between converter and computer. So controllers are hardwired into the TCP/485, and the TCP/485 will talk to the wireless router Wi-Fi wirelessly. And we also have a TCP/485, the simple and basic TCP/485 that will connect via RJ45. So instead of Wi-Fi, the TCP/485 has RJ45, the Ethernet connection. Normally those blue Ethernet cables that you're gonna have on your company and on your client. So the corporate network. So again, how that works, for example, I have two examples in here. The most basic example with my Conf32, where I have three different controllers connected to one Conf32, and the Conf32 is connected with a computer or a server that is hosting the C-TRAD software. Now, if this computer is connected to the internet, it's gonna have an IP address, and via that IP address, it will allow a remote connection to other computers or cell phone. So I can log into that server from anywhere in the world via IP address and serial port. In fact, every C-TRAD Pro software now have its unique ID. Its unique ID replaces the need of knowing your IP address. So basically that's what it does. Now, let's say we have a corporate network and we want to make use of that corporate network. So we have the TCP Wi-Fi converters. Again, three different controllers connected to the TCP Wi-Fi. And again, up to 32 controls on any of those converters. And now the TCP Wi-Fi will be connected to the intranet, to that corporate network. And from there, I can select any server within the same network to host the C-TRAD software. And once I have internet access on that server, I can connect from any remote computer or cell phone. So that's basically the setup. Here we have a very interesting question. Let's take a look. Mr. Bhatnagar, any specific configurations or features required in router? Well, any router can be used for that connection, okay? So there are no specific features or configuration you should look for on your routers. However, the more modern routers will provide you a more easier setup. So C-TRAD has the capability, C-TRAD has now the capability of providing an automatic port forward. However, this only works with the newer routers. So old routers will not have that capability. So you're gonna have to manually do the port forwarding. Okay, let's go back in here. So having that said, Full Gauge has recently launched a new device, a new server and gateway. It's called the CTRAD Inbox. CTRAD Inbox, it's a very innovative device which combines the CONV32, CONV32, TCP 485, and TCP 485 Wi-Fi log all in one. So the CTRAD Inbox includes your built-in CONV32, TCP, TCP Wi-Fi log, and a computer all in one. So the CTRAD Inbox will actually provide you a dedicated hosting, a dedicated house, and gateway to your Full Gauge controllers. So as you can see in here, we've got the RS-485 port on CTRAD Inbox, which you can connect. You can daisy chain up to 32 controls to it and use the CTRAD Inbox as a CONV32 computer plus CONV32. Or you can have your CONV32s connected via USB to CTRAD Inbox. Those installations where you have more than 32 controls that you need to use multiple converters interface, you can connect those converter interface via USB to your CTRAD Inbox. In addition to that, you have the RJ45. That's the Ethernet port, same as you have on your TCP 485. And you also have Wi-Fi. So the CTRAD Inbox will also talk with your existing Wi-Fi router. And again, it provides you a dedicated hosting for your CTRAD software. In fact, the CTRAD Inbox comes with CTRAD software pre-installed. Let's take a look what the CTRAD software looks like. And for that, I will actually like to show you a live screen of the CTRAD software. But that's how the normal screen and the report screen looks like. So please hang on in here that we're gonna look at the CTRAD software live. Now, if you need any support, any assistance regarding Full Gauge controllers or CTRAD software, you are more than welcome to reach out to us. We have a very strong, very comprehensive support infrastructure in place that will take care of all your questions and needs. So please reach out to us via email, phone, or any other mean. We have a 0800 line for the North America market, which is right there on your screen. You can see in here that 877, it's our live tech support number. Or you can also email support at Full Gauge Controls to have live support from all your Full Gauge controllers and your CTRAD software. So here we have a question from Mauricio Barroso. Where do I get the IP for log in a server anywhere? So I understand you're asking for the CTRAD ID, Mauricio, and the CTRAD ID will be available on your CTRAD server configuration. The one that stays normally, if you're working on a Windows-based computer, it's going to be right next to your clock. That has a small icon, which is the CTRAD service configuration. Once you open the CTRAD service configuration, you will see your CTRAD, your respective CTRAD ID right there. So, okay, let me actually bring the CTRAD screen up and we can take a look at the C-Trod application. So in the meantime, if you have any questions, any other questions, please send out. Do not hesitate to send out. In the meantime, just opening my C-Trod software in here, and we're gonna be looking live at the application. While we are waiting, please go online and download your C-Trod software for free at ctrod.com. Okay. Here we go, guys. So here we have our C-Trod application screen. And what I would like to show you is that when you first download the C-Trod software, you're going to have two servers or two connections pre-installed, or two available connections. One is the local server. That's the one you're going to use when you want to install your full gauge controllers and your full gauge converters to that local computer, to the computer that is hosting the C-Trod software. And we have the demonstration server. This is a test server we have in our factory in Brazil. And on this test server, you have a number of controllers which you can interact live in order to familiarize yourself with our technology. So I definitely, and I urge you to download C-Trod software right now and connect to the demonstration server to familiarize yourself with the C-Trod software solution. And that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna select the demonstration server, and it's gonna ask for a username and password, which will be already filled up on your C-Trod software. And now you just click on connect, and it will take you to your C-Trod application. So now we're traveling all the way from Miami to Brazil. This might take a couple of seconds since we have a very, the internet, I'm sure it has been slow for everyone those days. The internet has experienced unseen traffics, and sometimes it gets slow here or there. So, but we are logging live into our test server in Brazil. And here we are. So you're gonna notice that we have all these controllers connected to our test server, a variety of controllers which will allow you to take a deep look in any application-specific controller. So let us look at these ones that, and this is also a nice feature. We have controllers installed in Celsius and Fahrenheit on our test server. And we're going to be taking a close look at our Fahrenheit controllers. So here we have a very basic MT512, your medium temp controller. I believe you're unable to, no, you're. So, okay, here we have. So we're taking a look at those controllers in here. For example, your MT512, your medium temp controller. Here I'll have the compressor running, the defrost is off, controller is working under the cooling mode. Remember that the 512 also provides you the option of heating, but in this case, it's under the cooling mode and refrigeration output is on. Same thing with our freezer controller in here, the TC900E, which provides your room and evaporator coil temperature and control compressor, fan, and defrost. So in fact, here we can see that our freezer controller is currently on defrost. We have other controllers connected in here, such as the temperature and humidity, multi-stage temperature controller, and phase monitor and protection. Let us take a look first at the TC900. So when you double click any specific control, the controller management window comes up. Now we can easily read and understand all the system variable. So as you can see, the software interface, it's quite intuitive and user-friendly. Here we have our refrigerated space temperature, or room, or box temperature. Here we have our evaporator coil temperature that will determine the defrost cycles. And if we had a third sensor connected to this particular model, we would have the third temperature display in here. Now I have my control output status in here. Refrigeration is off. Underneath of the temperature display, you have your output status. So refrigeration is currently off. Fan is currently off. Defrost is on. And there is no alarm. In fact, there is one alarm event in here. This shows you all the alarm events that have been taking place. So, for example, here we have an end of defrost by time. Why do we have that alarm? Because on the freezer controller, you ideally want to terminate defrost based on temperature for an optimum defrost cycle. If your defrost cycle terminated by time, was because your coil temperature could not reach that coil termination defrost temperature. So you might have to check why that happened, or if that is constantly happening, maybe your defrost termination temperature is too high, or maybe there are other things to look at. But that's why we had the alarm, because this controller wants to terminate the defrost always based on the coil temperature. And in this case, unfortunately, it terminated by time. So I have an instant feedback. Hey, my defrost terminated by time. Take a look and analyze what happened. That's the beauty of remote monitoring and control. But as I mentioned, we not only monitoring, we can actually interact with the controller. So if you click here, we have a setup button. Clicking in here will take you to all the controller settings. And you can now change your cut in, cut out temperature. You can change your defrost cycles. You can change your fan operating status. You can change every controller setting from your CTRAD software. And you can do more than only changing. You can save those presets, email a preset to a customer that for a quick and easy download of settings. You can print out, you can export to PDF, Excel, and other formats. Another, some of these small and unique features, some of the features that there are not too salient, but makes a huge difference when you're working on some applications. For example, here on CTRAD, you will see that some parameters are in bold. Why is that? That's because those parameters have been changed from the default value. So every parameter that has been changed from default value becomes bold on your list of parameters, which highlight what are the settings that has been tampered with and provide you a good feedback to analyze that data. Going further on this, here we saw all the alarms. There are a number of alarms possibility, and the CTRAD can actually send out those alerts to an unlimited number of people. So there is no limitation in the number of people that will be notified. And one nice feature is that you can actually customize the level of access for each user. So you can provide restrictions and permissions based on the user level of access. So, and here you have the possibility of setting up all your alarm events. In this case, we have high temperature, low temperature, door open alarm, we have pressure alarm, we have defrost termination, data logger, and a number of alarms that can be easily set from your CTRAD interface. Besides the alarm, other salient feature of CTRAD is the report. So on the report, when you click on report, you can easily extract graphical chart report or text alarm report, alarms, and other type of reports. Let us take a look at the text report, for example. So let's say we want to take a text report from our TC900 freezer controller. Very intuitive, very easy to navigate, very user-friendly. That's the advantage of CTRAD. You don't need IT or refrigeration expertise to play with CTRAD. Neither your customers do. So this is a very intuitive, very user-friendly, and affordable solution. So now we have the TC900. Here we can select what are the variables we want to display on that CTRAD report event. Let's say we want to display everything about the TC900. I want to see the room temp, coil temp, whenever the fan was working. Actually, we can take this off since we don't have sensor tree. Set point, we don't mind about the set point. We don't mind about the current process, neither the deviation on the set point. But we do want to see compressor running cycles, fan, defrost running cycle. And let's say we have a door switch connected to the digital input of that controller. Now we can monitor when the door is open or closed. And here we can select what's the report period we want to analyze. So for example, you can define last 15 minutes interval, or you can go and do a fixed report period. Here you can select from which date and time you want to take this report from and until when. But in this case, we want to take only the last 30 minutes so we don't have a huge amount of data and we can easily display this report to you. So here we go. We only had 15 report sampling during the last 30-minute cycle. That means my system is actually logging every 2 minutes. And this is also an interesting feature. You can actually define your desired sampling interval. So you can actually set up if you want to have one data sampling every 2 minutes, every 5 minutes, every hour, or even every 5 seconds. And now we can see what was the room temp, the box temperature, and the coil temperature during that report period. And also whenever my compressor was on, here we can see that the compressor was off, because there was a defrost cycle on. And during the last 10 minutes, our defrost cycle went off and the compressor went on. And here's one interesting thing. Here you can see when the defrost went off, switch from on to off, and now my compressor is on and the fans are off. Why are the fans off in this case? Because we wanna, this is a freezer application. We wanna cool down the coil. We wanna drop the temperature of the coil before bringing the fan on. So that way we will prevent heat transfer from coil inside of the room. We will prevent that heat that was generated during the defrost cycle from being transferred to the room. So that's why we had the fan delay cycle. And once that fan delay cycle is gone, we have the compressor and fan working. We could have this report in a graphical format as well. a nice graphic report, for example. Same thing, we just select the graphical report, we select the controller, we want to take this report, and what are the variables we want to display on the report. And for this purpose, we're going to use pretty much the same variables we used before. So here we're running our chart or graphical report. Now we're going to see same data we saw on the text report in a different format. And here we have, so again, this is a demo site. So there are no real equipment connected to it. So that's why our both temperatures are equivalent, are very close to one another. But if you had a real site installation, you would have a graphic with a temperature difference between room and coil. And here we have our defrost cycle was running constantly, and then the defrost cycle stopped. That's the draining time. That's the time we let the system drain. So that water that came from the defrost cycle doesn't freeze up and ice up the coil again. And the fan delay cycle, when the fan was off and compressor was on. And after the fan delay, we have our normal operation with the compressor on and the fan on. So by taking those predictive reports, you can easily analyze the system data and easily identify potential improvements. The event section provides you event and schedule capability. So you can actually schedule defrost. Again, you can schedule your economy set point, automatic report generation, and more from the defrost. But basically, that was what I would like to show you from the software. The objective today was to provide a very brief overview on the C-Trod installation, configuration, and capabilities. So now the next step, what I will invite you for, download the C-Trod software, play with our demonstration server. And if you have any question, again, you can download for free at ctrod.com. And if you have any question during that trial period, that's not a trial, you're actually downloading and you're owning the software. The software is yours. But when you're testing, when you're trying out the software, if you have any question, please email us at support.fullgauge.com, or you can always call our tech support line at 877-917-6643. And again, my name is Lucas Demarchi. I'm with Full Gauge Controls, and I would like to thank you all very much for being here at our 4th live webinar. And I look forward to see you back here next week, next Wednesday. Thank you, and you all have a blessed day and a good week.